being resident God. A, it's easier to find him. B, it's easier to deal with him. C, it's easier to talk to the man or woman. And finally, you have someone to blame. So I don't think we need to waste too much of time on this whole concept of God, because which God would have allowed us to be run by the kind of people we are run by? Which God would permit every child, and this is a serious point, every infant who goes into hospitals in Calcutta often worries, the parents worry if that child will come out alive. Which kind of God would support the kind of carnage and communalism that we've been afflicted by, and that too in the name of religion? Which God would then ensure that those very people get elected and re-elected every goddamn time? So the point is, God is a convenient crutch for people who want to wage their petty wars in the name of religion, and one such war was about to begin in this very place a couple of days ago. So the reality of our times is that God is a convenient truth that we must absorb, we must bandy about, and we must believe that we're doing the smartest and the right thing. But the reality is, look at the way we've progressed culturally and religious-wise. In every department of our lives, we've seen our lives being afflicted with not just conflict, but with disagreement, which then quickly converts into hatred. No God would have ever condoned this kind of stuff. So there is no God. There is man who needs to reinvent God in order to keep his business and his conscience clean. The business part we don't know, the conscience we're still coming to terms with. My submission, therefore, would be, keep God alive. Because at least you have someone to throw stones at, including worship. Finally, look at our relationship with the gods we create. No one ever goes to a temple in India to thank the Lord. They always go there to strike a bargain. Make sure my taps don't run dry, and I will come back a second time. Thank you.
Javed Saab.
Speaking after Suhel is like coming out to bat after Sachin has made his 100th century. Now, whether man has replaced God, it depends what it means. If it means that God, the concept of God obviously, is omnipotent, even a blade of grass doesn't move without his will, all the corruption, all the dishonesty, all injustices according to his will. So if that is the meaning of replacing God, the answer is no. Obviously, things are not in control of an individual, in control of a group, in control of a nation, in control of the whole human race. And perhaps they will never be. And that is the charm of life, that things can never be totally under control. Man can never become omnipotent the way the concept of God is. So in that sense, man has not replaced God. But by replacing God means, if man has replaced God, yes, in a way he has, because there was a time when God was in everything. God was in diseases, God was in snakes, God was in floods, God was in rivers, God was in mountains, God was in clouds, God was in rain. Everything was God. And gradually God is receding. He is losing territory. He has gone out of diseases. He has gone out of fields. He has gone out of floods. He has gone out of rivers. He has gone out of mountains. Now God has only two hideouts. One, death. Another, the depth of universe. And I have a message for God. They see these are two last hideouts you have, but believe you me, I am coming there.
This is not a motion I can support. Man has replaced God. How can you replace something that wasn't there in the first place? In any case, I would not wish to subscribe to any religion that worshipped man. I don't want to worship anything. despite that, I'd just like to read a little poem which was written in 1875 as one of the so-called Balliol rhymes. Balliol is my old college at Oxford. Probably there are many Balliol people out there as well. And in 1875, these rhymes were written about people in Balliol. Here's one of them. Positivists ever talk in such an epic style as Dawkins. Gods are naught and man is all. Spell him with a capital. That was written in 1875, therefore was not written about me. It was written about my great-great-uncle, Sir Clinton Dawkins. But if he was a humanist of that kind, then I'm not. As I say, I do not wish to worship man. All the wars, the religious wars of history, all the crusades, all the disputes, all the mayhem about burning people's books, the protests about people coming to conferences, this is all for nothing. It is all a complete and utter waste of time because there is no God. You are utterly wasting your time when you take offense and hurt at somebody offending your God or hurting your feelings about your God. There is no God. There are four bad reasons to believe anything, and they are tradition, authority, revelation, and faith. Tradition means we believe this because our people have always believed it. My parents told me I couldn't live without the God that my parents brought me up with. Well, how pathetic is that? Authority, believing what's written in some holy book. What did the author of the holy book know about anything compared to what we know today through modern science? How can you possibly seriously be a member of the modern world and believe what was written in a book that was written thousands of years ago? Faith. You believe something because you believe it because you believe it. What kind of reason? And finally, revelation. You sit quietly and contemplate your navel and the truth somehow pours into your brain. The only reason to believe anything is evidence. Man is not to be worshipped. Man is to be praised for being scientific and giving evidence.
Aruna Roy.
God is a woman. And I object to the title. How do you assume that this God whom no one has ever seen has any gender, has any identity? How can we say? It's the most irrational thing. For me, there's been no rational explanation of God. But I understand compassion. I understand humanity. I understand kindness. I understand tolerance. I understand love. And if these are good things in life, I see them in all of you. So for me, technically, there is no God. Why have we made him a man? Why have we made him part of a hegemony of structures and stereotypes? Why have we made him a matter of competition? My God versus your God versus his God. Why have we packaged him? Because we have made God in our likeness. There is no question of God versus man. God is man. We've made him for our own purposes, as previous speakers have said. मैं गांव में गरीबों के बीच में काम करती हूँ. हमारे लिए खुदा या ईश्वर या ईसा मसीह या बौद्ध रोटी है, रोटी. हमारे लिए भूख से मरते हैं. हमारे लिए खुदा नहीं दिखता, हमें वो रोटी दिखती है. For us, bread is God. I work with very poor people. We don't want temples, we don't want mosques. We had a big slogan which resulted in the NREGA, which was Trishul nahi, talwar nahi, kaam ka adhikar chahiye. That's what we want. And I think this structures befuddled rationality, take away from us what is our right to equality, right to living, right to economics, share of economics, right to politics, right to justice. So for me, there is no such thing as a single God. There is no such thing as a single leader. As a feminist, I believe we should have collectives. Imposing God as one human being, I think, or one creation of all of us, we do a terribly irrational thing. It's irrational and therefore unacceptable. I have to get causality and proof to believe that something exists. God is a paradox. For myself, I hate to be boxed. I hate to be catalogued. I need to use my mind. Am I a woman? Am I an activist? Am I a lover of literature? Or do I like to fight on the streets? And I don't want to be categorized, and I don't want to be categorized in any religion, nor in extreme cases, yes, in ideologies. But otherwise, the whole business of God is to make us boxed, not think, and not think.
Thank you, Aruna. The one thing that you need to fight for now, earlier today, Aruna, earlier today when we were filing our statements with the police, the first question I was asked is, what's your caste and what's your religion? And I was fairly horrified, but we need to stop that. Sir, Salim Engineer.
I begin with the name of God, who is most merciful and beneficent. I praise to the God who is omnipresent, who is omnipotent, who is omni-knowledge. I thank to the organizers that they have kept a subject of discussion which is very rarely discussed at such forums. मैं सिर्फ एक बात कहना चाहूंगा, जो बात यहाँ कही जा रही है कि इंसान ने खुदा को या ईश्वर को, गॉड को रिप्लेस कर दिया है। खुदा ने सारी कायनात और सृष्टि को बनाया है। The whole universe has been created by God, and the creation cannot supersede the Creator. A creation cannot have knowledge more than the Creator. The creation cannot have power more than the Creator. One more thing I would say, anything which we cannot see, anything which we cannot feel is not present. It is not a rational or logical. जो चीज हम देख नहीं सकते और जो चीज हम सूंघ नहीं सकते, महसूस नहीं कर सकते, वो मौजूद नहीं है। ये दलील बहुत कमजोर है। बहुत सी चीजें हम अपनी आंखों से नहीं देख सकते और अपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट से नहीं महसूस कर सकते, मगर वो चीजें मौजूद हैं। इसलिए जो लोग ये कहते हैं कि खुदा को देखा नहीं जा सकता इसलिए खुदा नहीं है, ये बात बहुत कमजोर है। दूसरी बात, मैं उन लोगों से, हमारे उन साथियों से पूरे आदर और सम्मान के साथ जो खुदा के अस्तित्व को, खुदा के एक्सिस्टेंस को इनकार करते हैं, पूछना चाहता हूं, द एवरीथिंग, इवन द मैन and every creation